In this lesson, we're going to be talking about dynamic SOQL. Let's say you wanted to be able to dynamically query an object or set of objects based on changing criteria. One way to make your query dynamic would be to use the Database.query method. This method uses a string to perform a query with the return being an sObject. So in this lesson, we'll be going in and using Visual Studio Code. So this is an example of the Database.query. We're going to have a list of sObjects because the return is an sObject, and then sObject list. Then I can do Database.query is the method, and then the query parameter is a string. So this is going to be your SOQL. So select ID, we'll do account, so name from account. And then, because we've seen this quite a few times of what happens with this query, I'm just going to be getting the size, and the size should be 35. Debug of 35, so we know that we're getting all the accounts, and then it's querying and getting the IDs and the names of all of them. Now, that's not very dynamic, so what we can do is we can make it a little bit more dynamic by referencing string variables within the query. So I'm going to take this and copy it, and then create a string. We'll change it, so we'll add a where clause, and so I'll do a string where clause, and we will do where the name is not equal to Wayne Manor. So where name is not equal to, and then we do binding and reference the variable. So within here, it's still all a string, and we have the where clause where the name is not equal to, and then we're referencing that variable. So this may look a little different, but we're still using the same syntax where we're binding based on the colon for the variable, and then Salesforce will dynamically put that in, and then we can get the size. Which is 30. So we have 30 accounts where the name is not equal to Wayne Manor. So what's the big deal with that? I can do the same thing without using the database query. As we can see here, I'll just modify and we run it, and we still get the same thing. So that's true. We can have it so that way it's still referencing the same thing within here, but because the database.query can take a string, we can build that string, and we can do things where it gives us much more flexibility aside from what this query could be able to do with just having the variable. So let's go back to, I'm going to copy and paste this in here. So let's say that we wanted to change some of the parameters so that way we're building the query instead of just hard coding some of it in and referencing a variable. So let's say that for this one, we will do, I want to select the name, the ID and name we'll do from opportunity. So we'll do string from opportunity, and then I'm going to add a a space in here. And you'll see why in a little bit. So we'll do string, we'll do the select string. And then I want to select the ID and the name. And then if I didn't have this space in here, I would have to put it here. Otherwise, we would have one word for name from. So string query equal to select. Oops, no, I already did that. So now we're going to add them together. And then instead of that, we can put in here. And then I can run that. And we can see we got 31. And so I can see right here as well with the aggregation select ID, name from opportunity. So this can become useful if you need a query to change based on the user's input. Maybe even they are inputting part of the query. Let's say that they're inputting something like the where clause. The one thing that we need to be careful of is if we are allowing users to input and change queries or add to the query, there are ways to potentially have SQL, or not SQL injections, SOQL injections. But that's essentially where an input is being passed in that could potentially be malicious or not the intended outcome. So just as an example of that, we could do, so we have the query for, let's say we wanted to add a where clause into this where we do a name, like, and then we'll do an input of United. So we'll do string, we'll do where clause, United, and then I need to add in query name, like, okay. So this one, what I'm doing here, this backslash is an escape character for the single quote, because what I'm going to be doing is I want to find any name where it contains the word United, or really it would be containing whatever word would be for the where clause. That could be input. In this case, for the string and for the purposes of this demo, we're just going to use United. And then if I do a % afterwards, and this would close out the where clause with the search in between. So that should be good. And then what I'll do is size, that works as well. And that didn't work. Oh. I'm also going to, we'll debug the query as well. Just that way it may help to show. So the query is select ID, name from opportunity, where name, like, United. So this is a normal query that we could run. And then it comes out with there's 10 opportunities where the name includes United. So that would be something that could potentially be expected. However, with this, it has the ability for a SOQL injection. So what I could do is, let's say that I change this where clause, and let's say that I close out the So this is going to close out the like, and then I can now add whatever I want into this where clause. So I can say and amount greater than 500,000 and name like So the reason why I added this name like and then the parentheses again is because with this where clause, I have the parentheses right here. And so we'll see when I take a look at the query what it looks like. But this would not be the behavior that we would be wanting to get. So now I can see for the query, I have select ID name from opportunity where name like, and this $% means anything, so any name, and the amount is greater than 500,000, and the name, same thing again, like, so it searches for anything. So these name like doesn't really matter, but it's just there to open and close, and we can put whatever we want into the where clause now. And let's say that we were displaying the name of opportunities or any opportunity information. We now know more information about these opportunities than what we potentially wanted the user to know. So that's where the SOQL injection comes from, because I can see that I have, it did work. I do have 2 rows, and we can see within the list and the size of it is 2. So now a user would be able to know more information than potentially that we would want them to know. And that's one of the things to be careful of with making things a little more dynamic for users. There's a couple ways. I'll show you just one way to clean it though. If we escape, so we can run string.escape, why didn't it come up? Escape single quotes. And what this string escape single quotes does is it's going to add and escape these single quotes. These single quotes currently are escaped, but it's going to do it again, so it's going to nullify everything. There's other escape methods that could potentially be used to clean this as well and make it a little bit more safe, but this is just one of the ways. So when I run this, I can look for the query. I have select ID name from, and then I can see within here, these are now escaped within there. So it changes the query, because beforehand these weren't there. And now I can see that the rows that I returned is 0. So that's one way to prevent SOQL injection, and also one way to make your queries more dynamic.